What is going on, guys? Pat Damiano here, and today I'm finally going to give you all the answers you need that you were looking for regarding your calluses. I get DMs, comments, and questions all the time from people about how to handle calluses. What do you do when your hands are hurting using kettlebells? What do I do when a callus rips? Do I wear gloves? What are the things you're always wearing on your hands? Does chalk help? And so on. And we're going to cover all of that today. Now, before we dive into callus prevention tips, I have two honorable mentions for this video that I just want to touch on quickly, but I'm not really going to dive too deep into in this video. But people ask about them all the time, so I do need to address them. Number one is chalk. Does chalk help? Chalk actually makes your calluses worse, technically. So what chalk does is it takes any moisture, so in this case sweat, off of your hands and increases your ability to grip. Now by increasing that, it increases the friction, science, between your hand and the kettlebell or whatever you're holding on to. Now when you have increased friction, you have increased callus because it just roughs up the hands a little bit more. So sorry, but no, chalk is not going to prevent you from getting calluses. It'll actually make them worse, but chalk is going to prevent you from flinging a kettlebell across the room. So use chalk. Now the other honorable mention here is gloves. You can call it toxic masculinity if you want, but gloves are just a no-no in my book. It's as simple as that. I'm sorry. But if you do decide to use them, go ahead. But please understand that the reason they feel nice on your hands is because they're thick. So you're not really holding on to whatever you're holding on to. The gloves have a nice padding for you. And because they're thick, they're going to decrease your ability to hold on to the kettlebell or whatever it is that you're holding on to. So if you use gloves, then fine. But you will be leaving strength on the table by using them, and that's a fact. Now, let's dive into care and prevention of calluses. See, it's important to know why I just put air quotes around the word prevention. And it's because no matter what, it is impossible to completely avoid calluses. Well, technically, there's one way to completely avoid them, but that's by not working out. And I'm not even just talking about kettlebells here. I'm talking working out in general. They are part of the process, which is a perfect segue into my first tip for calluses. And that is, you have to get used to them. If you're new to working out or specifically using kettlebells because maybe you just started your beginner Bellplex program, your hands are going to get a little roughed up and it might feel a little uncomfortable in the beginning. Look, I can promise you this. Fight through this period of discomfort, and if you give it some time, your hands will toughen up and you will grow more accustomed to this. Look, it's just part of the game and you will get past it. Look at your calluses as a little badge of honor. You've got to earn them. Calluses equal hard work. All right, so now your hands are getting a little tougher and some calluses are building up. And when they do build up, they can be pretty uncomfortable, which is where taking care of your calluses is going to be very important. Yes, this is where your life is at right now. You're watching a YouTube video about how to take care of your calluses. But all jokes aside, proper callus care makes a huge difference in the comfort and lowering the likelihood of ripping your calluses, which we'll talk about what to do if that happens a little bit later. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I've heard many different approaches and tried many different approaches to taking care of calluses. There's pumice stones. There's these cheese grater looking things. Some people freaking bite them. And like I said, I've tried basically everything over the past 13 years, besides biting them. Actually, I haven't tried that because that's gross. Anyway, but by far the best thing that I've found and the only thing I use now for handling my calluses is this thing right here. See, this is a callus shaver, all right? I hope that focused. If it didn't, we'll prop a little picture of it on the screen. Anyway, that's a callus shaver. Now, if you just go on Amazon and look up callus shaver, you'll see a bunch of different kinds, right? And they're all basically the same thing. It's this little contraption, this handle looking thing. And then on the top, there's just a tiny, very thin, very sharp blade. And basically what you do is exactly what it sounds like. You just shave your calluses off with it. See, real quick, in case you don't know, calluses are basically just skin that builds up on your hands. Like they create an extra layer, I guess you could say. I don't even know if it's dead skin or whatever it is. Anyway, it's an extra layer that gets built up on your hands. And when they get too big, they're pretty sensitive. And then since they are kind of sticking out a little bit, the likelihood gets higher of them ripping the bigger that they are. And when you rip, it f***s up your whole week. So take care of your calluses. See, this thing shaves off the skin by making them smaller and taking off the top layer of the skin. It's as simple as that, really. And being that the great guy that I am, I even let my calluses build up for this video so I can show you how simple it really is. Alright, so basically all you need to do is take this thing, kind of just shave off this little potato chip of skin. It's gross, I know. But if you do this, it is going to completely change your life, and you will severely reduce the risk of ripping. And voila, it's as simple as that. Yeah, not the sexiest thing ever, but it works. I can promise you that. Now, sometimes the hands are feeling a little extra sensitive. Maybe you've let your calluses get too big, or maybe you've just been getting after it lately and they're tender. It's going to happen sometimes. And there's no problem because we've got solutions for it. And some of you may have seen me wearing these on my hands in videos and wondered what they are. Introducing Wad and Duns, today's sponsor for this video. I'm kidding, they're not. But these things really are a lifesaver, and I cannot recommend them enough. If I have a day where my hands are feeling it, or maybe I'm about to throw it out on Project Bellplex's double complex day, and things are potentially going to rip, I'm putting these on, no questions asked. They're really easy to put on and they stay on great. All you need to do is take off this back layer. You put your hand, 3 fingers through the finger holes. They stick on. You wrap this part around your wrist, and then that's it. I'm not going to show you because I want to save these things because I like having them and they're valuable to me. Whether it's kettlebells, CrossFit, calisthenics, or anything like that, I highly recommend getting some of these things. They're going to make a very big difference, and you'll see even more so why later on in this video. I have never, and I repeat, never ripped when I put these things on before my workout. Now, with that being said, something I do need to touch on just a little bit, and it's like what I said before with the gloves, there's going to be just a little bit of reduction in your grip. Not nearly as much as the gloves, so I do need you to know that, but there might be a tiny drop-off, which is totally fine if it is going to prevent you from ripping. So, tiny drop-off in strength, very, very large likelihood of not ripping. Very good trade-off, very worth it. And right now, if you go on their website, you can get 20 pairs, so 40 individual strips for $27.50. Go get some. Okay, so Pat, what about some technique stuff? Are there ways I can adjust my technique to prevent calluses or maybe just switch things up when my hands are a little roughed up? Yes, there are actually 2 things you can do. But for this one, we're going to head to the garage. So yes, there are things that you can do with your technique to take a little tension off of your hands, or if your calluses are feeling a little extra tender that day, to take a little bit of pressure off of them. One of the things, and it's really just an overall concept that you can take into most of your exercises, so that's swings, cleans, snatches, even if you're doing stuff like pull-ups, barbell deadlifts, whatever it is to relax your grip just a little bit. With any of these exercises, you don't need to be death gripping and squeezing as hard as you possibly can. When you do that, you're just creating a little bit more tension and more friction in your hand. So if you're going super heavy, yes, you're probably going to need to squeeze very hard, and that's just going to be part of it. But if you have a weight that you could, for the most part, hold on to without squeezing as tight as you possibly can, that is something to keep in mind. So whatever exercise you're doing, number 1, try and relax your grip just a little bit. Now, the other way that we tend to see this a lot, specifically with kettlebells, is cleans and snatches. So when the snatch is overhead, on the downswing right here is where our hands tend to get beat up a little bit. And if your hands are tender, you're going to be feeling it there. And on the clean, on the downswing, same thing. It's going to be pulling on your hands. So if you have some thick calluses, your hands are tender, that's going to be a tough movement to do. But there are ways that we can work around that, change our technique just a little bit, and give our hands a little bit of a break. Now the concept is going to be the same for both of these exercises. The kettlebell will be on the shoulder. We're going to pop it out a little bit. And what that's going to do is let the kettlebell float for a second, and then you're going to go try and catch the kettlebell in your fingertips a little bit as opposed to the palm of your hand. So right here, if I'm doing a clean, what I'm going to do is pop this kettlebell out with my shoulder and then catch my fingertips and then go into my clean. Pop it out, catch my fingertips, go into the clean. And the snatch is going to be the same thing. So I'm overhead, I'm going to bring the kettlebell down to my shoulder, pop it out, catching my fingertips up overhead. Back down to the shoulder, pop it out, floats, catching the fingertips, and then we're back up overhead. So what this is going to do is allow you to catch the kettlebell in your fingertips. So this part of your hands, where your calluses probably are, isn't the part that's catching the kettlebell. Normally, we catch the kettlebell like this, and as you can see, this little pinch right here is where we're going to start to get our calluses. And this is a strong position to catch in, but if your hands are a little roughed up, then it might feel a little nicer to catch in that fingertip. So that's what you're doing when you pop the kettlebell off of your shoulder. You give it a chance for you to go from here to catch the kettlebell in your fingertips like that, and then you can do your cleans and snatches and be a little bit nicer onto your hands. So we talked a lot about tips, care, and prevention for our calluses, but now what do we do if we actually do rip? Well, for that one, we're gonna head back to the office. Now, the first thing I'm going to say about this one is that ripping your hands is not a badge of honor and it's not cool. Look, calluses are part of the game. Ripping your calluses is not. And personally, if I feel a rip coming on, I'm going to change what I'm doing in my workout to make sure that I don't, right? And I have no problem with that. And if you are watching this and you're on Project Valplex, I want you to know that I am completely okay with you changing and switching up any part of the workout that you might need to if you think that you are going to rip. Ripping's not cool. Don't fight through it. That's all. Look, ripping sucks. It hurts. And quite frankly, it f***s your next 5 to 7 days up of lifting. So prevent it and avoid it any way that you can. But sometimes it happens. What do we do? So how to heal and handle a ripped hand is important, and there are things you can do to speed up the process the best that you can. We're going to get there in just a second, but first what I want to do is talk about how to work out with a rip, because we're not taking 5 to 7 days off because of it. It's time to bring back our Wad and Duns. If you have a rip and you cover it with one of these bad boys, it is going to make a huge difference. For the most part, you should be able to work out fairly normal if you put one of those over a pretty bad rip. Now, it's not going to be 100% perfect. At the end of the day, the rip is still there. But putting one of these on is going to allow you to still hold on to things and do exercises like swings, cleans, snatches, and pull-ups fairly comfortably. So it's going to prevent you from needing to take time off or completely avoiding exercises because of a rip. Maybe you just have to pull back a little bit. So definitely throw one of these on one of your rips. You won't regret it. If you can't tell by now, you should get some of these things. Now, that's just the workout. What do we do about the other 23 hours in the day? Now, ideally, you want to air it out to heal, but you have things you need to do throughout the day that you need your hands for. So doing stuff with an open wound on your hand, not going to happen, not really ideal. So I'd recommend putting something like Neosporin on and then just cover that with a Band-Aid. And then maybe throw a little tape on just to make sure that Band-Aid doesn't come off throughout the day. Or you can throw on a Wad and Done over that Band-Aid. I swear, they don't pay me for this. Anyway, but that's going to help keep that Band-Aid in place so you can kind of like go throughout your day and fairly normally. But then at night while you're sleeping or when you're just done doing things throughout the day that you need your hands for, take the Band-Aid and tape and everything off and then just let it air out overnight. That's what I do and what I've been doing and have found to be the most effective and speedy way for me to let my hands recover. At the end of the day, the hands are pretty sensitive skin. Yes, you can toughen them up, but when you're swinging heavy balls of iron, doing pull-ups, and lifting heavy barbells, calluses are just going to happen. But now you have tips and techniques to minimize them, take care of them, and prevent big rips from happening. And if you do rip, well, then you have your protocol for that as well now. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you got some value out of this video. And if you did, then I know that you'll get some really good value out of this one right here. I'll see you there.
Yeah.